My name is Gill, Salt Lake County District Attorney, and I've been asked by Ms. Janetta to welcome you today as we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Today is a day of recognition, acknowledgement, celebration, and reflection. We recognize the legacy and still today the importance of the work Dr. King inspired. We acknowledge those who continue to adhere to the principles laid down by Dr. King and the struggle for civil rights that still continues. We celebrate individual and collective commitment by all those present here today. And most crucially, we reflect upon the responsibility that is ours regardless of political affiliation, ethnicity, gender, or faith. These things sometimes some people still use to divide us and our nation. It is easy to forget that the message of Dr. King was much more than merely an argument about race relations and the impact of our original sin of slavery as a nation. Dr. King proposed a moral framework, an ethical framework, that transcended the contingency of a particular moment in our history. It is too easy in our divisive times to reduce arguments to mere politics. The power, the urgency, the transcendence of Dr. King's message and effort rests in its moral and ethical universality. Hate, discrimination, the othering of communities, the rationalization of political neglect, the abuse of authority, the seduction of power to be used against the most vulnerable amongst us was, and still is, a flaw in our agency and community. It is only an accident of time, place, and particular moment that the target of abuse, of violent expression of power, is the African American community, is the immigrant community, is the LGBT community. Hate and political violence still finds targets in the Jewish, Muslim, Latter-day Saint communities, against the rights of women and those struggling with poverty. The virus of hate and injustice manifests itself still in different expressions. Injustice against one is injustice against all, as Dr. King reminds us. Our moral principles, our ethical principles compel us towards the arc of justice that recognizes the dignity, the humanity, the intrinsic worth of all human agency. Justice, fairness, equality, and truth are more than mere words, but are the ideals that inform and compel us in our shared mutuality towards love, respect, and recognizing the intrinsic worth of every individual. They are the benchmark of our call to action. That is why days like today are a reminder of our mutual connection to each other and to the communities that we belong to. So it is fair to ask, is there still work to be done? When the color of your skin is an indictment of your character, there is work still to be done. When your right to vote, access the voting booth, is made more difficult, there is still work to be done. When the accent in your voice is sufficient grounds for those in power to stop you, there is still work to be done. When the peaceful protest and the rights of common folk to gather is demonized, there is still work to be done. When mobs, disabled people, and former veterans can be stopped, shot, and abducted from our streets, there is still work to be done. When power is used against very citizens it is our obligation to protect, there is still work to be done. When the exercising of your civil rights are suppressed by unchecked power, there is still work to be done. When the rule of law, the rights of citizens, and due process are ignored, there is still work to be done. So that is why we gather here. That is our mutual obligation to each other. It is both our burden and our responsibility to overcome the seductive abuse of power. That is why Dr. King reminds us, love matters, respect matters, human dignity matters. So welcome as we celebrate these principles, and also be both ambassadors and witnesses of the work that still needs to be